Thanks for joining me today. I'm settled in for a little talk here about how Transmute Chaos, which is me, Jessica, how Transmute Chaos can really empower you in your life to rise above like the state of chaos that you might feel in your mind or the external areas of your life, or even in your emotions or your physical state. I'm going to tell some stories. So, also, I just have to say I'm really proud of myself because I am not only jumping into offering my services as a coach and a somatic educator for women, but I'm also like jumping into this whole like business aspect that I really didn't understand. Like, I have the knowledge and the experience to really work with women directly, but putting myself out there is really vulnerable, outside my comfort zone. And I've had to kind of bolster myself with some knowledge in that area through a great little program. And so they're like, dive in, do this. And I'm like, okay. And like my first two videos are so awkward. Like the first one, I'm walking and talking and it's like, I'm sorry. It's so nauseating. Like there's so much commotion. So I apologize for that. And then the second one, I'm like lying on my living room floor and my 1-year-old is like banging pots and pans in the background. And I'm leaving them up there because that is my testament to myself and like my acknowledgement and my gratitude to myself for just taking these steps, taking action, to actually doing something instead of just hiding behind my knowledge. That was a realization I had just the other day. Someone was like, can you list out what your like expertise qualifications are? And so I wrote them all out and I was like, oh my God, I'm so qualified. And then I immediately felt like this need to like delete it, because what if somebody thought that I was too egotistical? What if someone thought that I was bragging? And I had to sit with that and be like, man, I have all of my knowledge, my education, my experience is so hard earned. Like in some instances, especially with my personal experience, my literal blood, sweat, and tears in this. Like I'm all in. And I need to own that and really thank the universe and myself for that. So, little side note, I'm really proud of myself. I showed up in a more professional capacity today. I am wearing sweats, which you can't see, and I got my hair in my like mom bun. But I'm I'm not walking, I'm not in my car, I'm not lying on my floor. Like I'm now in an upright position. So much progress. So I don't want to get too off topic. Transmute Chaos. I needed to come up with a business name. Like my name, Jessica Johnson, is so effing common. It's really hard to like brand my name. So I was thinking like, what is it that I am wanting to offer people? And there's a line that I kept thinking of is like, what am I trying to transmit? And I was feeling really chaotic in the moment, and also sitting with a line, born of chaos, which is a different subject. Born of chaos in the sense of a Greek deity, goddess, chaos. And so I was sitting with that, and Born of Chaos sounds really cool, but it sounds like a heavy metal band, which I could be okay with, but I was like, meh. Like, what am I trying to transmit? I was like, wow, I'm definitely not trying to transmit chaos, right? And then I started thinking about, this is like how my ADD brain works, like chaos, transmitting, not transmitting chaos, but what am I like doing, and I was like, oh, I'm like, transmute. I am transmuting chaos, which is transmute. Transmute is a verb, an action word. And it means to like alter the state of, or especially to rise above, like rising above that. And for me and where I come from in my life, like that's a really powerful declaration. And especially as a somatic educator, I came to somatics through a really persistent disassociation from my own body for a long time of my life. It was really hard for me to be in my body. And through yoga, I actually learned how to integrate myself more into my physical being using breath and movement. And I was like, this is really powerful. Like, I was having wild experiences just in yoga of releasing trauma and accessing new parts of my being. And at the time, I was a psychology major and also a criminal justice major. I'm a like overachiever all the time, right? And I was talking about getting my master's, and I'm like, you know, I would just really love to combine like psychology and yoga. And like, if there was a way I could like bring those together and offer them in a meaningful way to people, that would be the dream. That is the dream. And at the time I was talking to one of my guidance counselors and she was like, oh, have you heard of somatic therapy? I was like, well, no, I have not. And so that was my introduction to somatics. And then I found this certification program, and as we get to know each other better, like my story will emerge more fully. It's hard to just, I can't just offer the whole picture in one video. Like that would, no one wants to listen to that. So you'll just get to know me better as I get to know you better. So that was my introduction to somatics, and really seeing how these practices, as I've gone through my certification, these practices have completely altered my state of being and helped me to rise above like this chaos that I felt had been part of my life for so long. I come from a background of, you know, my personal experience. Let's go back before my, you know, education. Why did I put that in quotes? It's a it's a legitimate education. I'm sorry. I'm really tired. Okay. So before that, my personal experience is one of being in a state of survival for a long time. I have recovered from substance use disorder, from PTSD, from eating disorder, self-harm, suicidal ideation, houselessness, and various like physical and psychological traumas. That's it in a nutshell. So going through these experiences when I was in active addiction, when I was houseless, when I was being abused, when I had like just no desire to be here in this realm anymore, that really like put me into a state of survival mode. And that's how I lived for a lot of years. When I entered into my recovery phase, it was a long process, still ongoing, you know, and I get to live as a recovered being today. But entering into that recovery phase, it was still very much a survival aspect that kind of transitioned into like existing. Like now, okay, like I'm existing. But there wasn't that full connection that I needed. And with these practices, with this emergence in my life of like transmuting the chaos, rising above it, I am now in a state of thriving. Like I'm freaking thriving. And not only can I say that, but I can feel that, and I can own that, and I can live that in my life. It's amazing. So that is how Transmute Chaos kind of came about, and what it is really me wanting and desiring to empower you, other women, to just connect with themselves as a sensual woman. I thought of like a Shania Twain song in that moment, like, feel like a woman. But really to empower you to connect with yourself as a sensual woman, as a joyful being, as someone who can orient around pleasure. Like, these are concepts that I have learned the language around and have integrated into myself. And when I began my journey into somatic education, I was like, okay, I just want to be like comfortable in my body in any way, and then to be able to help others to do that. And it's evolved into so much more. And I really didn't think that sensuality would be a key concept. Still a little edgy for me to say that, but it's a really key concept for me, an essential aspect of what I am offering, because it is so revolutionary in my life. When I began this, I did not consider myself a sensual woman. Not at all. I'll go into that a different time, but like, did not consider myself a sensual woman. And now I'm like embodying sensuality in my life. And it was really interesting because when I jumped into offering like groups and holding like these women's circles, that was the number one feedback I was getting from people, was that they were connecting with their sensuality for sometimes like the first time. But it was also like edgy and scary for them too, which is what I experienced. And I was like, okay, like, I need to take a step back, because I'm connecting these women, not me, but what I was offering was like connecting these women with their sensuality, and yet there's this edginess and this rawness and that can be really scary, and then they're like pulling back. So I was like, I need to create a different container for this to happen, where it's more gradual, where they're held in this container for a much longer time. And that way they're more fully supported when coming into contact with that sensuality. And from there, that can emerge in a sustainable way. My baby just woke up, so I'm gonna have to go. But that's what I am offering and creating this program around. I'm so excited to be doing this, and I really, really, really hope to meet you on this journey and just provide the tools for you to have your own experience with this, and find the empowerment to like have that divine feminine spark like fully alive within you. Like, that's the goal, right? So thank you for being here and just allowing me to show a little bit more of myself to you. Please reach out. You can email me, transmutechaos@gmail.com, and I'd love to hear your story or hear how this resonated with you. So, bye.